Hello and welcome. In today's video, we are taking a deep dive in the complex and confusing timeline of the unforgettable series Telltale's The Walking Dead. I will be breaking down the timeline, pinpointing the exact dates of every major event, and with this video, hopefully answering all your questions about when these games actually takes place. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we dive into the timeline, let's establish a few ground rules. The game wasn't designed to be dissected in the way I will be doing in this video. Therefore, many of the dates I present are the best possible estimates based on various factors that I'll explain as we go along. To make it easier to understand the certainty of these dates, I've implemented a color coding system that will appear on the side of the screen. So, before we dive into the timeline, we need to answer one very important question. When does the outbreak actually take place? To answer this, we need to turn to the Walking Dead comics, since the game is set in the same universe as the comics, as stated here by the Walking Dead's creator, Robert Kirkman.
The story that you're going to see in this game actually happened in the universe of the Walking Dead comic book series.
And it's confirmed that the comic timeline starts in 2003, the same year the first comic was released. So we need to use this as our starting point. Next, we return to the games to pinpoint a more exact date. In Season 1, Episode 4, Around Every Corner, Lee and his group infiltrate a community called Crawford. There they find two videotapes that provide vital clues about the outbreak's timeline. The first tape is labeled Day 82 after the outbreak.
Anna Correa. Guess she must have been a patient here. And what's this?
This is day 82 since the outbreak. 1547. Dr. Logan in consultation with patient Anna Correa.
And the second tape is dated October 10th, confirmed to be the day after the first tape.
Found two more tapes. One of them is dated October 10th.
That's the day after the first one we watched.
Have you made a decision?
I thought you said I didn't have a choice.
With this information, we know that day 82 corresponds to October 9 and day 83 corresponds to October 10. By referencing a 2003 calendar, we can determine that day 0, the start of the outbreak, occurs on July 19, 2003. Now that we know when everything begins, we can finally start constructing the timeline. This video will present events in chronological order, so we won't start in Season 1, Episode 1 with Lee in the cop car. Instead, we need to rewind quite a bit to the earliest point seen in the games. This takes us to 3 flashback scenes involving Javier. The first flashback occurs in Season 3, Episode 2, when Javi visits his brother for the first time in 1 year.
We don't see your ass for a year. A year!
Shortly after Javi got kicked out of playing baseball. So the challenge with these 3 scenes is that there are no clear indicators of when they occur. For simplicity, we'll assume Javi was kicked out exactly 1 year before the start of the outbreak, giving us our first date to base these 3 flashbacks on as July 19, 2002. So the first flashback likely takes place about 2 weeks after Javi's termination, which brings us to August 2nd, 2002. This estimate is based on Javi not having a stable place to stay, having time to process what happened, and having time to return to his family.
Please, let me do the dishes. That's the least I can do. I'm crashing here. Crashers clean dishes. I won't be here for too long. Just, gotta get back on my feet a little.
So where do you think you'll go?
Don't know. With what happened, I'd be amazed if I could get a job assistant coaching T-ball.
You'll land on your feet.
Well, here's hoping.
so 2 weeks seems like a reasonable estimate. Next we jump forward about 3 months to November 2nd, when David expresses frustration to Harvey about his deteriorating relationship with Kate.
My job sucks. Kate and I fight like cats and dogs. Things between me and Kate have been going downhill for a while. I can't keep pretending this is the life I want. Not anymore.
Which seems to have started during Harvey's last visit, if you choose to confront David.
Time for you to open your eyes. Kate's gonna leave your ass. What? She told me so.
Harvey!
You said that?
Jesus fucking Christ, no! We were talking about traveling and I just... No, I definitely didn't say that. At all.
3 days, then I want you off my couch and out the door. We clear? Fine.
Javi, that is my husband. We are married, in case you forgot. That's for life.
David and Harvey appears to have reconciled since that visit, and the random kid still recognizes Harvey.
Hey man, you're Javier Garcia, right? The ball player? Can I get your autograph?
Get a job.
Ugh, whatever.
So, suggesting it's not too far long after Harvey was kicked out. The fall atmosphere also supports the November 2nd date as a reasonable guess. Finally, we skip to the last pre-apocalypse flashback, 63 days before the outbreak begins, where we learn that Salvador is terminally ill.
Pa? What's this? Hey, man, I was reading that. He has cancer. What? Pa, really?
I'm old. Old people get cancer. You didn't need to know.
It tells us he doesn't have much time left. We know he dies on day 0, more on that shortly, so we know this scene occurs fairly close to July 19th, 2003.
How bad?
It's okay, mijo. Ask me.
How bad is it?
You won't have to worry about paying me back that $10.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, Pa.
Hey, settle, David. Now.
What are your options?
Chemo, radiation. I turned it down.
You don't get to turn it down.
So much money, and for what? Another month. Another game of dominoes to lose? It's not worth it. It's good to see you and David on the same side of things, or a change. I'm gonna be a name carved in stone before you know it, Javier.
We also know this is after David has potentially returned from military deployment, depending on your choices in the previous flashback.
You really want to help? Drive me down to the recruitment office next week. The army? I belong back in the army. I had a purpose there. I had respect. Yeah, do what you need to do. The army could be good for you. All right then. If you want to go, you should go.
Looking up the average length of a US military deployment, they typically range from 6 to 12 months. Assuming David has the shortest deployment time of 6 months, plus an additional 2 weeks for preparation, travel, and other logistics, this estimate brings us to May 17th, 2003, which aligns with Salvador's illness and the fact that he has just 2 months left to live in this scenario. On July 14th, 2003, we witness a special scene from the Season 2, Episode 5 trailer, No Going Back, where Clementine says her final words to her parents.
Sorry, there's something in the treehouse and she wants me to get a video of it to show you guys. Hi, Mom.
Hi, hon. What's in your treehouse?
Baby raccoon.
Wow, that's cool.
We can pinpoint this date based on what Diana mentions in her voicemail. She refers to a few days, typically defined as 3 to 7 days, with an average of about 5 days. Additionally, she mentions that they will be staying 1 extra day.
Anyway, he's not feeling well enough to drive back tonight, so we're staying an extra day.
And that voicemail was recorded on July 19th, meaning that they were supposed to go home on the day they left the voicemail. So with that information, we can deduce that the scene takes place 5 days earlier on July 14th. Later that night, after Clementine's last call to her parents, we see Vince shooting an unarmed man.
Man, come on. I told you like 20 times. I don't even know your brother.
Okay, so this scene can take place anywhere from a few days to a few years before the next scene, depending on the context. In the next Vince scene, we see that he is on a prison bus 2 days into the apocalypse. We don't know if this is just after the murder and he's being escorted to prison before trial, or if he's already been convicted and is on his way to actual prison. Since we get conflicting evidence from both sides, it's unclear. For example, Justin and Danny have been convicted.
You were convicted, Danny. Gotta admit that much.
Oh, come on, Vince. That don't mean I did it.
I thought you took the stand and cried your eyes out.
I'm telling you again.
Didn't you lose your shit and tell them you didn't know what you were doing?
Or I'll set you
I lied. Turns out I'm good at that.
You lied on the stand? See, that's the kind of shit I could never do.
Which suggests this is later in the process, but they also seem to know each other better and know little about Vince, which suggests they might not be at the same stage in the process as Vince.
See that guy in the beat-up truck?
Ain't right.
I'll bet he lives in that truck now. You probably got his whole house, life savings. Shit, I bet you stole his dog.
Anyway, better than stealing his virginity.
Hey, how many times I gotta tell you?
Here we go. You know, I don't actually know a thing about you, Vince.
Vince also says they're on the way to jail and not prison.
Just let it go, man.
I want to, but you know, I love her, man.
What's it matter, man? You're headed to jail.
So I'm just going to assume this scene takes place about 1 week before the prison scene and move on. But keep in mind it could be a couple of years earlier. This just isn't enough information to be sure here. Day 0, start of the outbreak, July 19th, 2003, the day when everything begins. This day is pivotal in the series, with several key events unfolding. First, we see Lee on his way to prison sometime in the afternoon. At the end of this scene, Lee and the police officer crash, rendering Lee unconscious.
I got another good one for you. This one's a little bit less depressing and a bit more hilarious, if I do say so. This other time...
At 5:43 p.m. the same day, Diana leaves her first voicemail for Sandra informing her that Ed has been victim.
Message 1, left at 5:43 p.m.
Hey, Sandra, this is Diana. We're still in Savannah. Ed had a little incident with some crazy guy near the hotel, so we had to get him back to the ER and have it checked out. Anyway, he's not feeling well enough to drive back tonight, so we're staying an extra day. Thanks so much for looking after Clementine, and I promise we'll be back in time before your spring break.
Around sunset, Lee briefly regains consciousness and hears the police officer seemingly screaming as he meets his end. Lee then quickly drifts back into unconsciousness. Shortly after, we see Javi running home with the beginning scene of season 3 playing out.
You weren't here when Dad was sick, okay? I get it, but you need to fucking be here when he goes.
I know. Alright, I'm still on my way.
Hey, David, I had to leave my car. Traffic's it's backed up for miles. He's dead.
Later that night, Jack, Kenny and Katja stop at Gil's truck stop to refuel. This is where they encounter a walker for the first time. Sometime after that, Clementine hears Sandra scream as she dies, leaving Clementine alone. And to close off the list of everything that happens on this very important first day, 11:19 p.m., Diana leaves her second voicemail telling us Ed is in the hospital and they are stuck in Savannah.
Message 2, left at 11:19 p.m.
Oh my god, finally. I don't know if you tried to reach us. All the calls are getting dropped. They're not letting us leave and aren't telling us anything about Atlanta. Please, please, just leave the city and take Clementine with you back to Murrieta. I've got to get back to the hospital. Please let me know that you're safe.
Day 1, July 20th, 6:51 a.m. Diana leaves her final desperate voicemail for Clementine.
Message 3, left at 6:51 a.m.
Clementine, baby. If you can hear this, call the police. That's 911. We love you. We love you. We love you.
For the rest of the day, nothing significant happens aside from the fact that Clementine is alone and Sandra died the night before. This detail will become important shortly. Day 2, July 21st. We return to Vince and see the continuation of his story.
Shoot this asshole, Vince!
Meanwhile, Clementine remains alone in her treehouse, and it has now been 2 nights since Sandra's death.
Oh, shit.
Day 3, July 22nd. Lee finally awakens from the car crash late in the afternoon. He discovers what happened to Clementine's parents.
Ed had a little incident with some crazy guy near the hotel, so we had to get him back to the ER and have it checked out.
Kills Walker Sandra. And meets Clementine.
You've been all by yourself through this?
Yeah, I want my parents to come home now.
I think that might be a little while, you know?
Oh.
Look, I don't know what happened, but I'll look after you until then.
Lee and Clementine then meet up with Sean, either directly in the afternoon or late at night. There are minor differences based on your choices, such as Chet dying if you leave at night and not encountering Officer Mitchell if you leave immediately. However, since this video isn't focused on choices, I won't mention different outcomes unless they impact the timeline. Regardless of choices made, everyone arrives at Herschel's farm later that night. Lee undergoes an interrogation by Herschel.
I didn't catch your name, darling. How'd this happen? Where were you headed before the car accident? Where's home? Who are you with? The girl?
Get his leg treated.
If your leg gets hot or the swelling doesn't go down, you're probably dealing with an infection.
What do we do then?
Probably just have to shoot you.
And then settles down for the night in Herschel's barn. Before we go any further, I need to address one common misconception about the timeline, specifically how long Lee was unconscious in the police car. Many believe he was only unconscious for a few hours, or at most 1 day. On the surface, it seems unrealistic that Lee could be out for 3 days without water, but that doesn't change the fact he was. There are several reasons we know it was indeed 3 days. First, we know Lee crashed on day 0. The roads were clear, and we heard on the police radio that the outbreak was just beginning. Neither of this would be the case if Lee had crashed a day or 2 later.
I'm just glad I chose law and not order. Big messy trial like that, even if you was innocent. I got a nephew up at UGA. You teach there long? You want to know how I see it?
Not really.
I'm driving this man once. He was the worst one. He wouldn't stop going on about how he didn't do it. He was an older fella, big soft eyes behind a pair of smart folk glasses, crying and snotting all over right where you're sitting.
Officers are available for incoming 217.
When Lee finally wakes up, the roads are completely blocked with abandoned cars, and everyone has disappeared. This would be too drastic of a change for just a few hours. Additionally, several characters mention the timeline, all of which align with Lee waking up on day 3.
Did you kill it?
I think something else did. Before me, I think.
I heard her scream 2 nights ago. Maybe one of the monsters got her.
2 nights ago? Yeah, that's probably what happened.
Anyway, it's almost like we didn't see people eating each other for the past 3 days. It's peaceful here, no?
You're a pretty good shot.
Well, you don't fuck with a reporter, especially one that's 3 days out from her last cup of coffee.
No kidding.
How's she doing?
She's good, I think.
She's a tough one right there.
She's just a little girl, Ken.
What were you saying, Lee? She spent days surviving on her own?
That's right.
Not just any little girl can do that.
Clearing that up, we can now continue. A lot happens on July 23rd, but most of it is fairly straightforward, so I won't go into much detail. In the morning, Lee and Clementine wake up and meet Kenny and his family for the first time. Lee then helps out at the farm and Sean tragically dies. Later in the afternoon, Lee and Clementine get a ride from Kenny, which lead them to the drugstore. The rest of the episode unfolds throughout the evening.
We got beds, we got water, and most importantly, we got light. There are worse places to call home.
Yeah, you're right. You know, guys, I think it's going to be okay.
Following the events of episode 1, the next significant date is August 29, when we see Wyatt and Eddie escaping from Nate at night.
God, this is so fucked!
Why the hell did you shoot that guy, man? What the hell was that?
I didn't mean to do it. It just happened, okay?
Eddie believes he may have run over someone in the dark, leading to a rock, paper, scissors contest, and the story concludes with the two of them splitting up. Day 76. On October 3rd, Molly ends her affair with Dr. Logan in Crawford, as seen on the third security tape we discussed at the beginning of the video.
We had a deal.
Yes, we had a deal. We don't anymore.
Day 82. We're now back to where we started on October 9th. On this day, Anna Correa discovers she's pregnant and is told she needs to have an abortion.
I need you to brace yourself, Anna. The sonogram confirms that you're pregnant. As you know, the rules are very clear. The termination is mandatory.
Day 83, the following day. Anna meets with Logan again. She kills him and begins shooting people, sparkling the downfall of Crawford.
No. No.
Day 93, October 20th. 10 days after Crawford falls, Harvey and his family decides their old house is no longer safe.
I know we all wanted to stay here in the house and wait for David to come back. But it's been 3 months since he drove away with your mom.
What are you saying?
We're not safe here. Not anymore.
Before we go any further, let's clear up one more detail. When there's a time skip mentioned like 3 months, I will always count it as exactly that time. For example, the outbreak began on July 19, so exactly 3 months later would be October 19. But the characters mentioned leaving on October 20th. The reason is that the outbreak started in the afternoon of July 19. While this scene takes place on the morning of July 19th, the world was still normal and the outbreak hadn't begun yet, so we need to add 1 extra day to accurately reach the 3-month mark. This won't be the only instance where we need to add an extra day to account for the timing of events. With that cleared up, we can continue. Skipping forward another 3 days from the previous scene, it takes us to October 23rd, where we can see Yulin recording the motel group about 1 day before the start of episode 2. We know this is about 1 day before episode 2 begins because of Clementine's hat. She says later in the episode that she had it a couple of days ago.
What are you doing, Clementine?
Okay,
Where's your hat?
I don't know. Can you help me find it?
Sure. When did you lose it?
I had it a couple days ago.
I promise. If I find it, I'll let you know.
Sitting there.
And we can clearly see in the recording that she is not having her hat, meaning this scene takes place 1 or 2 days before the start of episode 2. We also know that it's not the same day as episode 2 because we can see Lee, Kenny, Mark all in the motel and not out in the woods like they are in the morning of episode 2. And if we look at what Clementine is drawing, we can see she's drawing the same cat drawing she's doing in the episode.
Guess what it is?
I don't know. A dog?
Nope.
Oh, I know. It's a goat, right?
No.
Indicating that it is probably the day before and not 2 days before, considering she hasn't made any progress in the actual episode. Day 97. After another 3 months time skip from the ending of episode 1, we arrive on October 24th with the start of season 1 episode 2. The same rule applies here. An extra day is added because the last episode ended at night and this begins in the morning. Regardless, this is another crucial straightforward day. The episode starts in the morning and everything in episode 2 unfolds throughout the day, ending at night when the group decides to steal from the abandoned car in the woods. Day 101, October 28th. This is Clementine's birthday. All of it occurs during a time skip. This date will become more important later in the timeline. I'll explain when we get there. Day 104. After a 1-week time skip, episode 3 begins in the morning of October 31st, with Lee and Kenny making their final visit to the drugstore. During this visit, Kenny mentions that it has been 1 week since they stole the supplies from the car.
Your girl still upset with me for taking stuff out of that car last week?
This time skip is expressed differently from the previous ones. Instead of specifying that 7 days has passed, Kenny refers to it as happening last week. This distinction is important because if Kenny had said the supplies were stolen 7 days ago, we will need to add an extra day, making this day 105. For the same reason discussed earlier, however, since he used a more vague expression of time, it's more accurate to simply count back 1 week on the calendar without adding an extra day. With this clarified, the story continues with Lee trying to uncover who has been stealing supplies from the group as Lily begins to lose her grip on sanity.
How would you know?
What I know? I know you're not above murder. I know somebody has been stealing our supplies. That's right, stealing! And I know the list of people I can trust here gets smaller every day!
The bandits attack, Duck gets bitten, and the group escapes in the RV. Later that evening, Kenny hits a walker with the RV, and Lily kills either Carly or Doug. Shortly afterward, Katja and Kenny tell Lee that Duck has been bitten, and Lee informs Clementine.
Clementine!
Next, we encounter a significant misconception about the game. The following chronological scene is Clementine's Season 2 flashback with Lee, that Lee can promise Clem that he will never leave her.
I'm scared, Lee.
What can I tell you to make it better?
That you won't leave me.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. I promise.
Many argue that this is a dream rather than a flashback, but there are 2 key reasons why it is indeed a flashback. First, in the Season 4 scene, which is clearly a dream, Clem isn't wearing her red hoodie, even if she stole the supplies from the car.
It's abandoned, Ducky, don't worry.
What if it's not? Well, what if it's not abandoned? What if it is someone's?
We have to take this, Clementine. We need it to survive. This hoodie looks to be about your size. Why don't you hold on to this? It might get cold.
It's not mine.
It's yours now.
In the Season 2 scene, her outfit depends on your choices. This difference suggests that Clem's conscience in Season 4 might be influenced by her initial reluctance to take the hoodie. Keep in mind it was stealing from the stranger that ultimately led to Lee's death. In the flashback, Lee says to Clem,
but part of growing up is doing what's best for the people you care about, even if sometimes that means hurting someone else.
I don't want to hurt anyone.
It's not that easy.
And In the season 2 ending, if you go with Jane and reject the family, Clementine repeats this quote.
You won't regret it. I promise you.
You have to let us in.
Leave. Now.
Are you sure you want to do this, little girl? I mean, what if we're dangerous?
What if I am?
Thanks for doing that.
Sometimes you have to hurt someone else to protect the people you care about. A friend told me that once.
The only time we hear Lee say this is in the flashback scene. If it were a dream, Clem wouldn't have told Jane that a friend said it to her. The next morning, it is also a very straightforward day. The group starts off in the morning by discovering the train and meeting Chuck. Later in the day, Duck is dying, leading Katja to take her own life. Shortly after, Lee teaches Clementine to protect herself and then make a plan for when they arrive in Savannah, prompted by Chuck's warning.
She's gonna die.
About 2 hours after Duck's death, the group meets Umid and Krista. Later when the sun sets, they finally arrive in Savannah, marking the end of the day and the episode. Day 106. The episode begins the following morning, with the group walking through the streets of Savannah. The timeline remains straightforward during the early part of the episode. So throughout the day, the group gets attacked by walkers and is forced to flee. They lose Chuck and find the mansion. Kenny experiences another crisis when he discovers a walker in the attic. They encounter the stranger for the first time.
Hey! Hey! You come back here, I'll kill you! You understand? I'll kill you!
Lee and Kenny learns there are no boats left in Savannah.
There's gotta be a boat. There's gotta be.
Kenny, man, I don't think so. Maybe we need to come up with a new plan.
This is the plan, Lee. This is our best and only shot. You said so yourself back at the house. You agreed with me.
Yeah, but that was before we...
There's gotta be a boat. There's gotta be a boat. There's gotta be a boat. There's gotta be a boat.
After meeting Molly, Lee gets separated from the group but eventually finds Vernon and his group. After politely asking for help,
You can either show me the way back or die right here. What's it gonna be?
Lee returns to the mansion. Clementine discovers a boat.
And look what I found!
Holy shit.
Swear.
And the group devises a plan to infiltrate Crawford.
That's actually not the worst idea I've ever heard.
Later, Vernon tells the group he will return before midnight.
We should go tonight, under cover of dark. I'll go let my people know. Give you all a chance to prepare. I'll be back before midnight.
Assuming he arrives with his group between 11 p.m. and 11:30 p.m., this scene still takes place on November 2nd. Given the time it takes to navigate the sewers safely with all the walkers around, it's reasonable to assume the group arrives at Crawford just after midnight. Therefore, the entire Crawford segment takes place early in the morning of November 3rd. Securing the battery, medicine and gas, the school starts to be overrun by walkers, forcing the group to fight their way out, possibly losing Ben and Molly in the process. But they succeed and head back to the mansion by sunrise. Later that morning, when the group returns, Lee and Clementine have a conversation about not being able to search for her parents, which ends with Clementine crying and Lee drifting off to sleep. A few hours later, Lee wakes up and realizes Clementine is missing. He goes outside, finds her hat and walkie-talkie, and gets bitten in the process.
No. 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 Fuck.
After discussing with the group, Lee heads back to Vernon's hideout to see if Clementine is there. Upon discovering she isn't, Lee faints and wakes up late in the afternoon. At this point, a few different scenarios can play out depending on who accompanies Lee and whenever or not you decide to amputate his arm.
Fuck it. Cut it off.
Now that you're awake, I just don't think I can do it. I'll hold the tourniquet or something.
Are you fucking kidding me?
What if I pass out halfway through?
Regardless of these choices, Lee and whoever is with him always return to the mansion around the same time in the afternoon. Back at the mansion, the group is forced to flee to the attic as it becomes overrun by walkers and things quickly spiral out of control. Ben determinedly dies shortly after if you saved him earlier. Kenny seemingly meets his end.
What the fuck, Kenny?
Lee, it's okay.
Lee is separated from Umid and Krista, never seeing them again. Following these events, Lee arrive at the Marsh house, where Clementine is being held, reaching it around dusk. Later that night, after locating the correct hotel room, Lee confronts the stranger. During this encounter, the stranger reveals that Clementine's birthday was 6 days ago.
I can take care of her. We can have a family. I bet you don't even know how old she is.
She's 8.
Wrong. She's 9.
But
her birthday was 6 days ago. I know how to be a dad, you know.
And counting backwards in the calendar, we can see her birthday being October 28th.
how old are you?
8.
And you're all alone?
Looking back at the timeline, it's clear that Clementine's birthday is October 28th. Before we continue the timeline, there's something important to address. On day 105, which will be November 1st, Krista can tell Lee this.
We found some walkers.
You and an 8-year-old versus 3 of them, huh?
This suggests that Clementine told Krista she was 8 just before the other scene, which doesn't align with what the stranger said.
She's 9. Her birthday was 6 days ago.
So why is there a contradiction here? The most logical explanation is that Clementine didn't know the exact date and assumed she was still 8 years old. There are several reasons to support this theory. First, why did the stranger bring up Clementine's age as old to Lee? Pause the video here if you want to think about it yourself and comment what you think. The reason the stranger mentions her age is that he wants to show Lee that he can take better care of Clementine than Lee. He asked Lee a question he knows Lee will answer incorrectly to make a point, but how does he know Lee will get it wrong? The stranger most likely asked Clementine how old she was, just like Krista probably did. Clementine would have answered that she was 8 years old, just as she told Lee before.
How old are you?
8.
That might have been enough for Krista, but the stranger, who seems to be someone who keeps track of time and dates, also probably would have asked her when her birthday was. And when Clem would answer her October 28th, the stranger will inform her that they are in November and that she is actually 9 years old. This would explain why Clementine didn't mention her birthday during the time jump between episode 2 and 3, and why she told Krista the wrong age. Clementine simply didn't know until the stranger informed her the correct date. That would also be the reason he was so sure Lee would get it wrong. How could Lee know if Clementine didn't know herself? After the conversation with the stranger, Clementine manages to escape and distract him, leading to a struggle that ends with the stranger's death.
She's not Lizzie, but she's sweet. She wouldn't hurt a fly.
Finally saving Clementine, they cover themselves in walker guts and escape through the herd. During their escape, Clementine sees her parents dead as walkers in the herd, and Lee faints again at the worst possible moment. Lee wakes up one final time after Clementine somehow dragged his unconscious body through the herd into an old jewelry store. Lee teaches Clementine some last pieces of survival advice before she has to make the heartbreaking decision to shoot or leave him.
You're strong, Clem. You can do anything.
Next morning, we find Clementine alone in a field, contemplating what happened the day before. The season ends on November 4th, with her seeing two silhouettes on the horizon. Contrary to popular belief, these are not Umid and Krista, but just some random walkers. We fast forward to the next year, January 19, 2004. Russell is walking down the same road Lily willingly left the group on.
I was trying to protect all of us. I don't have anything left. I'll die out here.
I don't care.
He meets Nate late in the afternoon and catches a ride with him to go to Gil's truck stop.
Just get in, we'll get there. Or somewhere, eventually.
Upon arrival later that night, they are shot by some older people. The story concludes with Nate executing them both in cold blood. Next up, we have Bonnie's story, and it plays out on February 24th, around dusk. That's not much detail to add here, so we simply move on to the next entry. Continuing with the 400 Days stories, we skip to March 11, where Shell and Becca's story plays out. Everyone is relaxing in a cafe shortly after Roman confronts the intruder, leading to a heated debate about whether or not to execute him.
Look, we all know what we're talking about here, so let's stop dancing around it. We either let this guy go and take our chances, or we kill him.
We kill him.
There's gotta be another way.
Following this, we skip ahead to day 259, April 3rd. The situation has now deteriorated significantly since the last scene. Roman asks Shell to kill one of her friends.
You got your gun?
It's in the camper.
I'll give you a few minutes to get your head together.
Prompting her to take the RV and escape instead. Day 362. Season 2 begins on July 15, 2004 with Clementine, Umid and Krista alone in the woods. They arrive at Gil's truck stop where Clementine gets cleaned up.
Better. Oh shit.
Michelle then sneaks up on her, threatens her and accidentally kills Umid.
I'm serious. What else you got?
That's it.
Don't lie to me. I'll pop you. What a bozo.
Determining this date was actually quite challenging. To figure it out, we start with the 16-month time skip that follows this scene. We know they are in North Carolina because of the license plate found on the campsite. We also learn that it's getting colder, with concerns about it will start to snow soon.
I'm freezing.
You think this is bad? Wait till we get up to Wellington. Then talk to me about cold. If we make it. We still have a couple hard months ahead of us. This rain will turn to sleet, then ice, then snow.
As seen later in episode 4. Given that Clementine's birthday is October 28th and she is 11 years old in season 2.
I have a little girl like you. How old are you, sweetie? I'm 11. I would have thought older than that.
We can estimate it typically starts to snow in North Carolina in the beginning of December. If we average out the date to November 15, this date gives us about 2.5 weeks headroom until it is expected to snow. It also leaves Clementine about 2.5 weeks for her to be sure she has turned 11. So reversing back the 16-month time skip, this places the scene on July 15th, 2004. This date also fits when looking at the timeline from another perspective. Krista is known to be pregnant in season 1, and she's aware of it when meeting Lee on November 1st, 2003.
A group of guys is what we need.
They're what you think we need. We're doing fine.
For now. What about when...
Stop it.
From the clip, it seems they haven't had much time to discuss it, suggesting they have just recently discovered it. Pregnancy typically shows signs around 2 weeks after conception, which means Krista would have conceived around October 18, 2003, assuming they just found out about the pregnancy the same day they met Lee. Adding the usual 9-month pregnancy period, we arrive at July 18, 2004, which aligns perfectly with the timeline. With July 15th confirmed as the date for this scene, we can proceed to this date is as straightforward as this gets. August 22nd, 2004, Talia discovers a poster of the 400 Days characters and retrieves them later the same night.
This is a good thing. I know it is.
This date is confirmed by the 60-month time skip mentioned earlier. So November 15, 2005, we see Krista and Clementine cooking a weasel before they are attacked and separated. Clementine ends the day by being washed away in a river, with the scene fading to black. The next morning, Clementine wakes up alone in the river. And November 16 is about to become one of the worst days in her life. She starts the morning with being wet, hungry and alone, walking through the woods for hours. A couple of hours later, she encounters and befriends a dog named Sam.
Sam. Well, nice to meet you, Sam.
She looks to find some food, but only manages to find an old can of beans from the garbage. However, Sam attacks her and she is forced to kill him in the process. After leaving the camp and walking in the woods for hours with a severe wound on her arm, Clementine finally breaks down out of exhaustion. Of course, she is immediately attacked by walkers, but is rescued by Luke and Pete. After being saved, she has a conversation with Pete and Luke.
Where are the people you're with?
I'm alone. Everyone I know is gone. It's just me now.
Clementine passes out and wakes up later in the afternoon, almost getting shot by Nick. The cabin group does not believe her story about being bitten by a dog and lock her in the shed.
A bite like that could be anything. We can lock her in the shed.
While attempting to escape, Clementine falls on her wounded arm. She sneaks out to steal supplies to stitch up her arm.
This is gonna suck.
And is eventually accepted into the cabin. The next morning, Clementine, Pete and Nick head out to check their fishing traps. As usual, Walking Dead fashion, Pete gets bitten. Clementine now faces a difficult decision to choose between going after Pete or Nick. Regardless of the choice, episode 2 begins later in the afternoon with Clementine trapped with either Pete or Nick, surrounded by walkers. They decide to wait out the walkers and go to sleep.
A boat!
Day 853. Clementine wakes up and has a heartfelt conversation with either Nick or Pete.
I had to kill my mom.
But so what?
I'm tired.
What do I care if you want to die? Just sit there.
After sunrise, Clementine returns to the cabin to find out that Luke and Alvin went out looking for them. Carlos and Rebecca also head out to search, leaving Clementine alone with Sarah. Later in the day, Carver arrives to visit the cabin. After a confrontation with Clementine,
You have no idea who these people are, do you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let me ask you this. When you met them, how much did they trust you?
several hours pass before the cabin group returns in the afternoon. Clementine explains what happened and they decide to leave. The group finds either Nick hungover or Pete dead. This leads to a 5-day time skip. Continuing on November 23rd, after 5 days on the road, Clementine and the group arrive at the bridge. Things go wrong as usual, with Luke nearly dying and Nick killing Matthew. Later in the evening, they make their way up the mountain, and after 2 years and 20 days, Clementine reunites with Kenny.
Please, just do what he says.
Holy shit.
Wait, you know this guy?
They catch up, have dinner, and later Carver catches up with them and kidnaps everyone back to his camp, except Luke. The next morning, everyone travels to the hardware store where Carver's community is based. Clementine has an intense encounter with Carver, and Kenny remains calm and collected.
What do you mean, like what? Something sharp, anything that can help. A fucking, I don't know, anything! We gotta do something about that!
Settle down, Kenny.
I don't know what the fuck you're saying, but I know it's bullshit.
After a full day of travel, they arrive at the hardware store and meet Reggie, who tries to calm everyone down.
It's really not that bad here.
Reggie.
No, I'm serious. When was the last time you had electricity, huh?
Well, we just came from a lodge with a wind turbine.
It's not a competition.
Day 860, November 25th.
Don't kick me. It's rude.
Carver starts the day with a morning meeting and puts everyone to work. Clementine performs various tasks and meets up with Luke, who shares his escape plan. After the workday, Clementine has a meeting with Carver, who tries to win her over to his side.
I wish Kenny had killed you.
And there's all the proof I need right there. You think anyone out there'd have the balls to say something like that?
That night, Clementine tells the group about Luke's plan, leading to a plan to escape, which involves infiltrating Carver's office to steal 2 radios. After a successful mission the night before,
Clementine should do it. Are you fucking kidding? Come on, that's crazy. She's a kid. Clementine should do it.
Clementine's task is to get the stolen radio to Luke. The plan obviously fails, and Luke gets captured. After finding out, Carver brutally assaults Kenny for stealing the radio, and Clementine gets knocked out while trying to help Kenny. When Clementine and Kenny wakes up, the group resumes the escape plan.
And we just need someone to go set off that PA, right? I mean, you never bothered to explain who's supposed to do that.
Clementine sneaks into Carver's office, activates the PA system, and returns to the group. However, she is unable to carry Alvin back on her back as requested by Rebecca.
Clem, make sure you bring Alvin.
While Clementine performs her part of the plan, the rest of the group's task was to do nothing and wait for Clementine to be done. They don't succeed with that hard task and get captured, resulting in Clementine needing to save them. Kenny then kills Carver, and by now it's more likely they have passed midnight, so we skip forward to the early next morning. The group attempts to walk through the Walker herd. The plan goes smoothly. And they reunite later in the morning. Clementine and Jane later go out to find Luke, Nick, and Sarah. Jane teaches Clementine some survival skills, which Clementine already knows.
But these walkers got some good stuff.
Yeah, we should check them out.
But you know why, right? They might have useful stuff.
I like to think that if they were alive, they'd probably want to help you. Nothing. If it comes to it, if Luke or Sarah or anybody needs to be put down, you gotta be ready for it. No hesitation. I know. I've done this before. Got a nice little addition to your arsenal. Take out the knees first, then put a knife in the back of its head when it's down.
They discover that Nick died off screen and find Luke and Sarah in an old trailer. Clementine slaps Sarah and they head back to the group. In the morning, Clementine performs various tasks which are not crucial for this video. We then skip later to the evening. After getting attacked by walkers, again, the group finds shelter and AJ is born, making AJ's birthday November 27, 2005. Day 864, November 29. The Russians attack the group in the morning after they leave the previous shelter, marking the conclusion of episode 4. The exact date of this scene could either be on November 28th or November 30th, depending on the choices made earlier. The choice that determines what date we are on now is this.
We need to get on the road as soon as possible. We leave at first light.
Whoa, whoa! What are you talking about? Rebecca needs rest. A few days at the least.
If the player chooses to side with Kenny, he insists on leaving immediately the next morning, making the date November 28th. Really straightforward. If the player sides with Luke, the situation becomes more complex. Luke mentions he wants to stay for at least a few days, which generally means anywhere from 3 to 6 days. Rebecca, after giving birth, suggests staying for 1 or 2 days.
Just give me a day or two, Kenny. I'll be fine.
Given Kenny's personality, it's reasonable to assume that if Rebecca's condition worsens, Kenny will push hard to leave as soon as possible. Therefore, for simplicity, this route is considered to take place 3 days after the original scene, making it November 30th. To conclude the split in the timeline, from this point onwards, the split is shown by this symbol. So if you agree with Kenny, the date is -1 day, making it November 28th. And if you agree with Luke, the date is +1 day, making it November 30th. This is the case as long as this symbol is present in the date shown in the video. Now that that is cleared up, we can continue the story. We continue on with the start of episode 5, right after where we left off, still on November 29th. Somehow, everyone of the Russians gets killed and no one dies in our group.
Stop squirming, damn it!
The group spends the entire day walking towards the house Arvo mentions. They only take a brief rest around midday, primarily due to Luke's injured leg and Kenny's damaged eye. By nightfall, the group stumbles upon an abandoned power station where they set up camp around a fire, seeking some much-needed rest. During this time, Luke mentions it is birthday.
Today's my birthday.
This presents a small issue. Luke says it's his birthday, regardless of whenever you sided with him or Kenny earlier. This suggests that Luke may have 2 different potential birthdays. However, as Luke becomes increasingly more unsure about the exact day.
Today's my birthday. Near as I can tell, at least. Definitely this week.
It's reasonable to assume that his birthday falls in the middle of the split timeline. So I will just say it's safe to conclude that Luke was born on November 29th, 1978. The next morning, after some minor inconvenience, the group finally reaches the house Arvo has promised, but in typical Walking Dead fashion, Luke's birthday celebration is abruptly cut short when he drowns in a nearby lake. After Luke's death, as they arrive at the house, tensions are high between the group and Kenny. Basically, everything that happens is Kenny beats up Arvo.
Fucking commie piece of shit, Kenny! You mother! What the fuck, Kenny? Piece of shit! fuck off of me!
Then he repairs a truck.
Did you turn it?
Yes.
God damn it!
And ends up in yet another argument with the rest of the group before everyone is headed to bed, all in true Kenny fashion.
I was thinking more like Texas.
Texas? The fuck?
It was just an idea.
We already talked about this.
I'm sorry. We did?
We're going to find Wellington. Right, Clem? Look, I don't give two shits about what you people think. I got this truck working, so I say where we go. And we're heading fucking north.
What about Arbo?
Who? Oh, the Rusky? Yeah, he ain't coming with us. He got Luke killed.
I ain't gonna say he helped the situation, but maybe if you'd eased up on him before, he wouldn't have run away in the first place. You ever think about that, Kenny?
Either way, I'm not going anywhere in the middle of the night.
Yeah, me neither. There could be a herd out there. We're all gonna die out here if you don't calm the fuck down, Kenny.
Haven't we been through enough for one day?
Jesus fucking Christ. God damn it!
Clementine is later awakened in the middle of the night by the sound of Mike and Arvo attempting to steal all of the group's supplies and escape.
Now keep it down, alright? Nobody else has to get involved.
That's everything we have.
During the confrontation, Clem is shot, leading to a flashback with Lee.
No! Oh my God, Clem! 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 Clem!
Clementine.
Which has already been discussed. Day 866, December 1st. Clem regains consciousness somewhere around noon from her gunshot wound she got the previous night. As they drive, Kenny and Jane are acting like children.
Just please, stop arguing.
She's the one that's going off.
Because you won't listen to a thing I'm saying.
What's that? You're talking into my bad ears, sweetheart.
Jackass.
Oh, I still can't hear you.
Whatever. I give up.
Get your feet off the dash.
Let's play a game, Clem. I spy with my little eye an asshole. Your turn.
Grow up.
Go to hell.
I'll pull this fucking car over.
Go ahead.
You want to die out here?
Better than waiting to die next to you.
You're both being children.
But instead of playing with toys like normal children, Kenny and Jane like to play with knives.
I'll fucking kill you! Fuck you!
Regardless of which of the 7 endings you got, time-wise the season ends the same with a 9-day time skip, ending season 2 on December 10th. From this point on, the timeline won't be split anymore. From here on, we will continue playing from Season 3's perspective and then go back in time to Season 3's flashbacks. And since Season 3 is a continuation from the first intro scene and is not dependent on the Season 2 side with Kenny or Luke choice, there should no longer be a split in the timeline. As a result, I won't be using the +1 day counter anymore and go on from here with just a middle date. With that minor detail addressed, let's dive into the most complex and convoluted part of the timeline, the Season 3 flashbacks. Before we can go into the Season 3 flashbacks, I need to explain one thing first, for those who aren't familiar with it. Starting with Season 3, the timeline becomes more speculative. Up until this point, the timeline has been fairly accurate, and I have done a deep dive into piecing together the seemingly inconsistent flashbacks that are up ahead, but we'll get into that shortly. Regarding Telltale, most people know the company went bankrupt in late 2018 due to internal problems. I won't go into details as it's easy to look up. But what's relevant here is that Telltale's issues began during development of Season 3. In interviews with writers and voice actors, it was mentioned that there were no internal structure at Telltale. One writer might work on an episode one day and then be assigned to a different game the next day. I also recall hearing that after releasing episode 1 and 2, they scrapped the entire story and started over, which could explain the 3 months wait for episode 3. However, take this information with a grain of of salt as I can't remember exactly who said it or when. The important point is that Telltale was in disarray at the time and didn't put the same level of quality into season 3 as they did the previous seasons. A clear example of this is Clementine's character model. Here is Clementine at 11 years old at the end of season 2, and here she is at 13 years old in season 3. The difference is noticeable, showing that Telltale put effort into making her look older in season 3. But here's the model from the first Jane flashback, which takes place very close to the end of season 2. It's the same 13 years old model, even though she should look 11 in the flashback. This is just one example of how disorganized Telltale was at the time. My main point is that the game wasn't designed for a detailed dissection of the timeline. Despite this, I believe I constructed a timeline that works well and makes a lot of sense. So let's continue. Day 912. For the season 3 flashbacks, I won't explain the events of each scene, since they all take place in the same setting. Instead, I focus on why I chose the specific dates for each flashback. Also, to figure out all the dates for the different flashbacks, I had to go back and forth a lot between the scenes to make sure everything made sense. So, some of these choices of dates will make more sense as we go along. So, the first flashback with the shortest time skip from season 2 is the one with Jane in season 3, episode 4. We can deduce that because Clem and Jane are still clearing out House hardware store, indicating it's not long after season 2's ending. Clem's jacket is torn, suggesting at least some time has passed. There are more snow than at the end of season 2, which was set in the mid-December. Since January is the coldest month in Virginia, where House is located, it's reasonable to assume the episode takes place then. Considering these details, a 5-week time skip seems reasonable, making the date January 16, 2006. Day 964. Next we jump forward to the beginning of spring. While there's not much to go on in these flashbacks, there are some clues that help estimate the date. First off, the snow is gone, indicating winter has ended. We also have a deadline with Jane's pregnancy. She became pregnant with Luke at the end of season 2, episode 4.
That's about as human as I've felt in a long time. I almost forgot what... Clementine!
According to my research, women start showing pregnancy signs around week 16, so the current date can't be later than March 15, considering she hasn't started to show yet. Jane seems aware of the pregnancy, but hasn't started showing yet. She likely hasn't had a way to confirm it until we see the test in the flashback. There are also more subtle hints that some time has passed. The gnarly, more depressing mood and atmosphere is one of them.
I haven't been sleeping well lately.
I've noticed.
So many people died here. So many ghosts. Sometimes they're all I think about. Especially during the night.
The fact that if you let the family in, they've had time to plan and steal half their food.
We're on our own here, Clem. If we'd been doing this earlier, that asshole family you sent away never would have broken in and stolen from us.
And we can't forget the time it took for Jane's plastic surgery. Given these factors, a date around the first week of spring seems likely, making it March 9. Day 1277. The next is the episode 4 Kenny flashback, which is very straightforward. We know this takes place 12 months after the episode 4 Jane flashback, as indicated by the transition screens. This makes the date January 16, 2007. This date is supported by the characters complaining about the cold, consistent with January being the coldest month in Virginia, as I mentioned before.
Ooh. Kids as sick of the cold as I am.
Anywhere's better than here. I don't think I can stand another day of snow.
Day 1280. A few days later, Clem and Kenny are driving to Florida, trying to find a boat, and I estimate this scene takes place 3 days after the previous flashback, and several factors support this. Clem is just learning how to drive and is struggling with changing gears, which is one of the first things you learn when starting to drive.
Now just stay on the road. Most important rule there is. Now let's try shifting into second. Not bad at all, especially for a first time. You just gotta ease up off the clutch a little smoother, alright?
Kenny is not the type to sit around. They discussed leaving in the previous scene, so it's very unlikely they delayed.
So I've been thinking, it's no use surviving out here, hoping that Wellington will take us in someday. I bet we find some good people down in Florida. Maybe even a little friend for this goofball. Wouldn't that be nice?
On January 17th, they likely packed up and scavenged for food. On January 18th, they probably spent another day finding a car and teaching Clem the very basics of driving. And on January 19th, Clementine crashes the car and Kenny dies, as seen in this scene.
I don't feel anything.
That's good.
Clem, I don't feel anything.
The weather is also very similar to the previous scene, suggesting they haven't traveled far or spent much time on the road. Additionally, Kenny's concern about AJ not talking yet fits, as babies typically say their first word around 11 to 13 months after birth, and AJ is 14 months old by this point.
I swear this kid never makes a peep. Who knows how long he's gone without a blanket? The duck was gabbing a mile a minute at his age. Wasn't full sentences, but something.
There's nothing wrong with AJ. He'll talk when he's ready.
I know. Just a bit odd for a child his age. Then again, Albert Einstein didn't talk till he was 4, and look how he turned out.
For the Wellington flashback, there is not much to go on, except that Kenny mentions that he is hoping Wellington will take them in someday.
So I've been thinking, it's no use surviving out here, hoping that Wellington will take us in someday. I bet we find some good people down in Florida.
Indicating it's still operational as of January 16, 2007. Clem also mentions that AJ has not started to talk.
Come on, can you say Clem, AJ? Give it a try. Clem. Not much of a talker, are you, goofball? Edith says you should be speaking by now, but don't worry about it. You'll talk when you're ready.
Placing this flashback close in time to the previous one with Kenny.
There's nothing wrong with AJ. He'll talk when he's ready.
I know. Just a bit odd for a child his age.
For simplicity, let's assume Wellington gets raided the same day Clem crashes the car, meaning Clem gets 2 scars on the same day, and both Clem and Kenny are concerned about AJ on the same day. So the Wellington ending occurs later that same night on January 19th, 2007. Now we have the episode 1 flashback. To fully understand that this scene takes place on January 21st, just 2 days after the Kenny and Wellington flashbacks, we need to work backwards from the episode 4 Ava flashback. I'm just going to explain the reasons for the date, and they will make more sense as we work our way forward to the Ava flashback. So bear with me and everything will fall into place. So what is the reasoning for this date? Clem is wearing her new Frontier clothes instead of her torn Season 2 jacket, which confirms this scene takes place after January 19th, the last time she is seen wearing her Season 2 clothes. Clem also has the same backpack holder thing for AJ that she has in the episode 2 Ava flashback, indicating this scene isn't far removed from that one. There are also less snow, which could suggest a later time of the year, but given the clues from the other flashback, it's more likely she is further south, closer to where a new frontier takes place. In this scene, Clem cuts off her finger in a car door.
Oh my god! Fuck!
And given a finger amputation takes about 2 to 6 weeks to heal, and if we take in consideration Clementine's history of fast healing, it's reasonable to assume the shortest recovery time, suggesting this scene occurs 2 weeks before the episode 2 Ava flashback, making it January 21st. The episode 2 Ava flashback occurs now, 2 weeks after the previous scene, as I just explained. This is when Clementine joined a new frontier. The date will make more sense when I explain the next part. The day after Clem accepts Ava's offer, she joins a New Frontier on February 5th. AJ likely starts showing symptoms of his illness the day after that, on February 6th. I'll explain more about his illness shortly. We then jump forward 2 weeks to the night Clem tried to steal the medicine in the episode 3 flashback on February 15th. The next night, after Clem is kicked out, we see crucial evidence for the timeline in the episode 4 Ava flashback. The Ava flashback occurs 1 month and 30 months after the Kenny and Jane flashback respectively. We can also assume Clem has just been kicked out and is returning to her old hideout for the first time. Her nearly broken expression and the fact that she seems unfamiliar with her old hideout suggests that making 1 day the most plausible time frame. This gives time for Clem to return, for AJ to draw his picture, and for Ava to pack food and meet Clem. There are also some hints in the weather. We can still see that it's snowing, indicating that it is still winter, but the snow is minimal, also suggesting it's close to spring. Since winter ends on March 2nd in Virginia, February 16 align with everything else. Okay, so now it's time to explain AJ's illness. We don't know what illness AJ has, but we do know it's deadly and bacterial given the use of vancomycin. Even though I won't speculate on the specific bacteria, we know it's a serious bacterial infection. Bacterial infections typically last 1 to 2 weeks with antibiotic treatment, so it's safe to assume AJ has been sick for about 2 weeks. Let's say AJ got sick 1 day after the episode 2 Ava flashback, as mentioned earlier. This is supported by AJ's earlier screaming, possibly showing early signs of the illness.
Shh, AJ, it's all right. I know, you're hungry.
By the time Clem is kicked out, AJ will be around 11 days into the potential 2 weeks illness, 12 days if you count the day after Ava tells Clem that AJ isn't doing well. In this scenario, AJ has a couple of days to recover after Clem leaves the New Frontier. His condition is also serious enough that people believe he will die at any moment.
What the fuck were you thinking? You were told those drugs couldn't help him. How could you be so stupid? So selfish?
I had nothing left to lose. AJ was gonna die if I didn't.
He's gonna die anyway. That waste? That'll cost someone's life down the road. Someone in this camp. Someone who contributes to our survival.
Come on, David. She was just trying to help her kid.
We helped enough! We should have left him out in the woods a week ago!
But look, it's helping!
It doesn't work that way, Clem. You bought him a peaceful moment. Nothing more. I wish I could tell you it would save him, but that's the reality.
This scenario also aligns well with other flashbacks I just covered. Finally, with these convoluted flashbacks concluded on February 16, 2007, we can move on to the main plot of Season 3. The main story of Season 3 begins with Javi and Kate observing a herd of walkers. We know this is after July 19th, 2007, because Kate mentions they are 4 years into the outbreak.
Be nice to find some dinner.
In a junkyard.
You never know. These past 4 years, people have been hoarding all kinds of shit in all kinds of places.
Additionally, we know this occurs after Clementine's 13th birthday on October 28th, based on Ava's comment in the episode 2 flashback.
He's a cute kid. You guys living here? You seem kinda young to be a mom. What are you, 13? Damn, you're a child yourself.
Although Clem was actually 12 at the time, it's clear that Telltale used this line to tell Clem's age to the player. Even though it doesn't align perfectly with the flashback, Telltale wouldn't have included that line if they didn't intend it to be true for the main game. This isn't a coincidence either, as Telltale also made an effort to specify Gabe's and Mariana's ages.
Hey, you do not walk away from me! When someone speaks to you, you stand up and answer them. Even if you don't want to.
Cut it out, David. You don't need to show how big and bad and tough you are to a 14-year-old boy.
He needs to be taught the same way I taught you.
It was a mistake, and so was not telling you about it.
They murdered Mariana. She was 10 years old.
Like I said, I'm not asking for your forgiveness.
The claim that Clem is 13 further supports by Javi referring to her as a teenage girl in episode 3.
Rufus said Clementine ran his truck off the road just to break him free. We had real problems with her in the past. Running with that girl don't look good.
What's your problem with Clementine? You got a lot of hate for a teenage girl.
We kicked her out for a reason.
There isn't much more to go on to determine the exact start of season 3, but since there's no snow and no mention of cold, it's likely not too close to the winter. I estimate the date to be around November 4th, 2007. This allows about 1 week to pass since Clem's birthday, so it wouldn't be a point of concern to the story, and it also provides enough time for season 3 to unfold before winter sets in. With this in mind, let's continue through the episode after Javi and Kate finish observing the Walker herd in the late afternoon. They drive to a junkyard for gas and supplies, where they are ambushed by a New Frontier. Javi gets into a fight and is kidnapped by Rufus. He later wakes up in the evening, meets Clem, and they take shelter in Prescott. After Clem takes care of some business,
We had a deal.
All right, hey, okay, all right, so, hey, we'll trade back. I'll find some batteries.
I don't need batteries. What I need are bullets that won't get me killed.
Oh.
both she and Javi go to bed regardless of your choices. The next morning, whenever you go with Trip or Eleanor, you arrive at the junkyard to find your family unharmed. After a fight breaks out with a New Frontier, Javi briefly passes out until the fight is over, because why would we want to be a part of the shootout? The episode ends as the screen fades to white. Episode 2 picks up shortly after the end of episode 1, allowing enough time for Clem to dig this massive grave. Later that evening, Javi and Clem return to Prescott just in time for a New Frontier to attack again. After a New Frontier destroys Prescott, Javi, Clem and the other main characters flee. The night ends with Gabe trying to impress Clem.
Back the fuck off! Now! Just back away! What else am I supposed to do? He was threatening you.
Well, what are you waiting for?
Don't touch my uncle again.
Fuck me.
Gabe!
The next morning, Kate and Eleanor split up from the rest of the group when they encounter Jesus on their way to a New Frontier.
What do we call you?
Sorry, forgot to introduce myself. It's Paul, but my friends call me Jesus.
After a difficult journey, they arrive at the gates of a New Frontier in the afternoon, where the episode ends. Episode 3 picks up immediately after the end of episode 2. The group is locked up and Javi has a meeting with their New Frontier leaders.
Pleased to meet you, Javi. I trust you've been treated well.
Oh yeah, the cell you threw me in was totally 5-star.
He screws up and they are kicked out later in the night.
Is that right? Is there bad blood between you and Max?
Let's just say I wouldn't invite him to my wedding.
Yeah, I wouldn't fucking go.
Good, because I just said you wouldn't be invited.
This is who you're asking us to vouch for, David? Seriously?
I want them gone. All of them.
The day ends on November 6th with the group heading towards an old New Frontier storage building. Very early in the morning, sometime after midnight, they arrive at the building. After a conversation with David,
Did you let him turn?
Clementine, no! Don't do this!
Shut the fuck up, Javi!
they find Max, Badger and Lonnie, and after a long fight, the group determinedly kill Badger and Max, while Lonnie escapes.
For God's sake, Javi, get a goddamn hold of yourself.
I'm tired of this sack of shit. Let's just kill him.
Wait! I'm begging you!
After regrouping, they return to Richmond later in the afternoon, where Javi and David confront Joe.
What's this?
They were trying to leave.
Leave? I asked you to get Kate and Gabe safe, not tuck your tail and run.
It is a good thing David is so calm and level-headed, but unfortunately David's calmness is not enough, so Harvey and David end the episode being locked up.
I'll give you family!
Episode 4 picks up around the same time in the afternoon. After either a fight or a heartfelt moment with David, Joan comes back to talk to David. Harvey then escapes and regroups with the rest of the main characters who are holed up in Eleanor's apartment. Later at night, Harvey and Gabe go to steal some guns, and here we get to see how useful Gabe really is.
Freeze! Get away from me!
Harvey, you're bleeding.
Harvey then meets up with Clem.
Clem?
And we talk to Lingard before heading back to the apartment.
I just want to die.
After returning to the apartment, it's likely after midnight, transitioning into November 8th, as it looks like the sun is about to rise. The group discusses their perfectly crafted plan by stealing a car and going in guns blazing to save David.
We move in fast, guns blazing, and we take her out. Couple of bullets, problem solved.
They steal the armored car and wait until sunrise to execute the plan. Of course, things go wrong, and the whole town gets overrun by walkers, ending episode 4. Episode 5 picks up immediately afterwards. As the group regroups to come up with a new plan, they head to the water tower around noon, after the usual arguments that tends to occur with this group.
She lost her daughter out there.
After what just happened, she's pretty damn lucky to be alive.
She just lost her entire family, Javi.
No! Burn!
Holy shit! No!
You're welcome, Javi.
Thank you. You just saved my life.
They arrive at the water tower in the afternoon, where David tries to kill Harvey for reasons we won't delve into in this video. Regardless, Gabe finally gets hit and Clem saves the day as usual.
Dad, no!
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
David takes off with Gabe. Now Harvey faces his big decision, the one significant turning point of the season. There are about 4 or 5 different endings, depending on what you consider an ending, but they all play out roughly the same in this timeline. No matter which ending you choose, it occurs later in the afternoon, the same day. It may seem like it's later at night, but that's likely due to bad weather. After the ending, regardless of which one you got, there's a 3-day time skip, skipping forward to the morning of November 12th. Based on previously established rules, this is not November 11th. Here Harvey is tying up loose ends of the game and cutting Clem's hair. Later the same day at sunset, Clem leaves Richmond for good, walking into the sunset and ending season 3 on November 12, 2007. Now that we're in season 4, there's only one flashback to figure out. Unfortunately, there's very little to go on besides one line. In this flashback, Clem is trying to find AJ. Dr. Lingard told her in the previous season that AJ was at McCarroll Ranch.
Where is he?
He's at the McCarroll Ranch, a few miles west of here.
He's really alive.
The key line is when Clem says AJ is around 3 years old.
I'm looking for a boy. He's about 3 years old. His name's Alvin Jr.
Based on our timeline, we know AJ was born on November 27th, 2005, so this scene takes place around the end of November or early December 2008. I'm not sure what Clem has been doing for the past year, but she looks older here, her clothes are more worn out, and Richmond has had time to be involved in a war.
Okay, now, where to? Can't go back to Richmond. This whole area is a war zone.
For simplicity's sake, let's just say this is December 1st and move on.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Now we have another very special scene. Coming up next is the first teaser trailer for Season 4. In this scene, we get our first glimpse of Clem and AJ fishing in what appears to be the same place occupied by the Erickson kids. So how do we know when this takes place? There are several clues we can go on. I estimate this scene takes place on September 1st, 2011, and I'll explain why in just a moment. The key point is when this occurs in relation to the main story. First, if this is part of the main story, it must occur before AJ gets shot in episode 2. The evidence for this is that AJ is wearing the same shirt he has at the beginning of the season. After he gets shot, he changes it. Given this, the only place this could fit into the story is if Clem went fishing with Violet and Brody, but since we're with Clem the whole time, that's not possible, so this scene must take place before the main story begins. There's also an argument that this scene might not be canon at all. However, considering the final part of the trailer where Clem tells AJ the rules, a significant plot point throughout the season.
Now, what do you do if I get bit?
I believe this scene is indeed canon, so when does it take place? As I mentioned, I estimate this scene occurs on September 1st, 2011, about 1 week before the start of Season 4. This timing allows Clem and AJ to explore the area without them staying too long for them to realistically leave the area or for them to encounter the Erickson kids, considering how much they hide from the outside world. Approximately 1 week later, in the afternoon, Season 4 begins with Clem driving down an old road until she and AJ arrives at a train station. As in typical Walking Dead fashion, everything goes wrong when they're searching for supplies. Clem and AJ get overwhelmed by walkers and Clem once again crashes her car, passing out. So why September 8th, 2011? Once again, we don't have much to go on, but it's widely accepted that Season 4 takes place 8 years into the apocalypse. While it's unclear where that specific detail originates, let's stick with it for now. Given this, we know this scene occurs after July 19th, 2011. We also know Clem is 16 and AJ is 5 during the season, as confirmed by Clem's voice actor.
And thus, Season 4. She is now 16 years old and AJ is 5. From the beginning, she shows a vast difference in tone.
This gives us an 102 days window for this scene to take place between July 19th, 2011 and October 28th, 2011. For simplicity's sake, let's estimate this scene occurs right in the middle of the spectrum on September 8th, 2011. Additionally, it seems to get dark relatively early, indicating the season is not set during summer. About 24 hours later, Clem wakes up from her injury. We know it's roughly 24 hours later because it's afternoon again, and there's no indication that Clem has been unconscious for longer, unlike Lee in Season 1. After waking up, Clem meets the kids and reunite with AJ. That night, they need to clear out the school of walkers. Once they return, everyone eats dinner, plays some lighthearted card games.
Ever had to kill someone you loved?
Lee. His name was Lee. It was the same day I found out my parents were dead.
And heads to bed. The next morning, Clem heads up to Marlon's office and bonds with Rosie before choosing whenever to go hunting with Louis and Asim or fishing with Violet and Brody. Regardless of the choice, Clem visits both locations, just in a different order, and does different things. In terms of time, it's the same, and later that night they return to the train station for more food, regardless of the choices.
There. That's where the food is. A lot more walkers than last time, though.
There they encounter Abel, have a little chat with him. They then goes back to the school, have an argument with Brody.
Creep? What creep? Did he follow you? Nope. I shoved him into a pack of walkers. They took a chunk out of him. What the hell were you thinking? This is fucked. How could you be so stupid? He's walker food. Relax. What if there are others? What if they come looking for him? You don't know what people are capable of out there. Think again.
And then goes to bed. Clem wakes up to some strange noises. This is likely after midnight, given how late they went to bed. Clem investigates and discovers Marlon and Brody fighting.
The man you met at the station, we got history.
Brody! Don't listen to her, Clem. She's acting crazy.
Marlon let him take the twins. Him and his people.
Brody!
10 sisters. I thought they were killed by walkers.
That's the story we told everyone.
Shut up!
Because Marlon was so ashamed of what...
Marlon kills Brody and then tries to pin the murder on Clementine.
She's in the basement. She murdered Brody!
What?
However, things take a turn when Marlon develops a sudden allergy to lead. This concludes episode 1. Episode 2 picks up the same day after sunrise, starting with Marlon's funeral. Almost everyone at the school is angry that AJ killed Marlon, leading to a vote on whenever Clem and AJ can stay at the school.
Take a vote. Majority decides. They stay or they leave. Today. A vote's the only way to settle this, or we'll be arguing forever.
Fine. I guess we're fucking voting.
They are voted out of the school.
We took the vote. You have to leave.
And apparently the vote took the entire day since it's nearly dark when they leave. After being alone for about 2 minutes, they immediately run into trouble again, reuniting with Lily.
Clementine!
The problem is that over the last 8 years, Lily has become a much bigger bitch than she was before. Clem and AJ have to flee, with AJ being shot in the process. James saves them, and they spend the night in his makeshift shelter in the woods. The morning after is relatively uneventful. Clem returns to the school with AJ. Because AJ is sick, everyone quickly forgets he's a psycho murderer and allows them to stay. Clem takes charge and immediately becomes the de facto leader.
Look at this place. It's a fortress. With a little work, we could make this place really hard to attack.
Do you actually know how to do that?
Yeah, I was part of a siege once in a town called Richmond.
Clem, Mitch and Ruby go to the school's greenhouse to gather supplies. When they are done, they go to bed, leading to a 2 weeks time skip. After the 2 weeks time skip, it's now September 26th. We see Clem having a nightmare, after which she goes back to sleep.
You were having a nightmare. Same one you used to have all the time. About what happened at the ranch.
In the next morning, Clem checks in on everyone as they prepare for the inevitable raider attack, and the school are as prepared as you would expect.
God damn it, Lewis. Take this seriously for once in your life.
I've been taking this seriously for fucking days.
Get over yourself.
Shit. Stand back. Fucking shit. If it doesn't work, Fuck! Shit!
Because you're boring and your idea is stupid.
Oh, I'm being stupid? You're the one who can't think straight. If you could hear yourself...
Guys, what the fuck?
It's completely stupid.
You're stupid.
You're being childish.
I am not!
It's exactly the kind of thing a child would think of.
What the shit?
Skipping to the afternoon, they engage in a less eventful card game. After that, Clem faces a choice. She can either avoid doing work with Louis or pretend to do work with Violet. Regardless of the choice, Clem later keeps watch with AJ, where he learns a valuable lesson about the value of human life.
AJ, it's okay if Abel frightens you. You know how to control that.
He doesn't frighten me. But when he comes here, I call dibs. I'm the one that kills him.
AJ, I don't like the way you're talking. Killing is never easy or fun or to be treated so casually. As you should never think about killing like that.
But what if we played rock, paper, scissors? If I win, you change your mind, and I get dibs on Abel.
Yeah, okay.
Really?
Best 2 out of 3, sucker.
When the raiders finally attack, as usual, everyone except Clem proves to be completely useless. The raiders burn down the school and kidnap several kids. The episode ends with everyone staring down at the captured Abel. The morning after the attack, Clem engages in a calm and composed conversation with Abel, who, out of the kindness of its own heart, reveals where they are located.
Call it off! Call it off, you fucking psycho! You little bitch!
Now that they know where they are headed, they spend the rest of the day scouting out the raiders' boat. They talk to James to secure some walkers.
We need your help moving some walkers.
My mask is still in the camp. I can't pass through a herd without it.
Okay, then let's go get it.
I just ask that you don't kill them, the walkers.
All the monsters are dead.
All of them?
And then return to the school to plan for a party. After the party, Clem goes to bed and dreams about Lee.
Hey, Sweet Pea.
Lee?
Before being woken up by AJ.
Clem, wake up. It's time to go.
They proceed to execute their plan, infiltrating the boat, killing many of the soldiers, planting the bomb, and getting locked up.
Violet!
Fuck, Minnie?
Clem! Get in the cell.
Are you fucking serious?
I will kill you.
After experiencing Lily's hospitality,
Which twin are you going to be? The loyal one or the dead one?
I'll be the one who breaks out at night and cuts your throat while you sleep.
they escape, leading to a final confrontation before the bomb goes off, ending the penultimate episode of the series. Clem wakes up, likely after midnight, given how long the night has already been. Despite Kenny's disapproval, Clementine successfully blows up the boat and has to show off her parkour skills to escape. After fleeing and regrouping, Clem, AJ and 10 are left behind and must find their way back. They navigate into a cave where Clem has a conversation with James, provided he hasn't already been killed.
The world we live in, the way you think, is dangerous. No one can survive like this. The world isn't as simple as you like to make it sound.
So what is it then?
It may not be kill or be killed, but it's awful goddamn close.
They make their way to a broken bridge, where their final confrontation with Minerva occurs.
The night will be over soon.
Minerva dies, and depending on your choices, 10, Violet or Lewis dies here. But who fucking cares, because Clem gets fucking bitten.
I got bit.
As morning arrives, Clem and AJ makes their way to James's barn. It's here that Clementine dies.
Last rule.
No.
What do we do if I get bit?
AJ, you have to kill me.
Or at least that's what I would have said if it were anyone other than Clem. You see, Clem has the same plot protection as Rick Grimes in the TV show. No matter what happens, you just can't kill them.
I found him.
The final day. So when does the epilogue takes place? On what day does the series truly end? The biggest clues we can look at are the healing times for the various injuries that can occur at the end of the season. First, Lewis or Violet's finger, estimated healing time 2 to 6 weeks. Second, Lewis' tongue, estimated healing time at least 2 weeks. Third, Violet's eye injury. We don't know the exact injury, but a typical recovery from eye surgery takes about 4 to 7 weeks, so we can take that as our guideline. Fourth, Clem's leg injury. Estimated healing time 4 to 8 weeks. From what we can see, it looks like none of these injuries are fully healed, except for maybe Lewis and Violet's fingers. Additionally, when Clem talks to AJ, it seems like it's the first meaningful conversation since Clem's injury, so I estimate this scene takes place about 2 weeks after Lily cut off Violet's or Lewis' fingers.
All those times you would ask me if we'd find a home, all I could ever tell you was, we'll see. And your face would fall every single time. But you want to know something I didn't tell you? I never had a plan. I never knew where we were going. I never knew anything. I just fought and fought and fought and hoped you didn't notice. When we were in the barn, you didn't listen to me. And if you had, I'd be dead. I was right to trust you back in the cave. To make the hard calls, even when I couldn't. You'll have to be strong for the both of us.
You made it so I can. So, thank you. For everything.
You're welcome for everything.
So all things considered, the final scene of the game ends with Clementine sitting down on the steps, finally able to rest and watch the sunset for a grateful fanbase. On October 12, 2011, 3007 days in from the initial outbreak, never to be seen again.